Okay, everyone. Today we're talking to Harper Reed, the CEO of 2389, and also a bunch of other things. Welcome, Harper, to Chaos Agents.
Thank you. I was telling some friends that I was coming to the show, and they were like, "That seems appropriate for your life." so, so hopefully, it is appropriate.
That's great. So last week when I found out, first I'll ask you our first question we ask everyone. So when it comes to AI, with 0 being we're in the matrix, we're all batteries for the machines, and 10 being I have an AI best friend, it cleans my house, it can open and close my dishwasher really well actually, and it lives with me and it's perfect. Perfect AI utopia. How are you feeling right now?
That's such a hard question because I can only have those two examples in my head. It's very hard for me to think of a gradient between those two. I'm 10 when you take away humans.
Yeah.
And 0 when you add humans into the equation. So if we didn't have social structures that humans exist in, I'd be yeah, it's going to be incredible. But then you add in social structures that humans exist in and the systems that we have around us, and I'm we're all going to die. And that's kind of it. It's not like the paperclip factory. It's more like the regular factory, but with more slaves.
Yeah. It's true. I feel like you've probably also seen a lot of these different booms like crypto and social and mobile.
I'm trying to collect them all.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's my goal here is to collect as many booms, especially tech booms, as possible.
But zero busts. We're not here for the bust.
Well, it's part of the boom bust thing. There's always a pair.
Yeah. How would you do you think this is on a scale that is very completely different than what we've seen so far? Is this akin to the invention of the internet or something like that? Or do you think it's more of one of these cycles?
Well, my bias is that I love technology. And so anytime someone's here is a cool new technology, I'm just oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. And this is going to change the world. It could be anything, truly anything. And I'm also relatively optimistic in my day-to-day life. And so I've been very excited about every hype cycle. I've fallen prey to the hype. This seems different only in that I think there's an existential bit here where with crypto, especially as a fintech entrepreneur, crypto was like catnip. It was incredible because you're just wait, I can build all these cool fintech things without having to do any of the fintech hard stuff. I can just put these glues together and all of a sudden you can send money all over the world. That was very, very exciting. I still think it's exciting. I just think it's scammy. But with AI, I guess what I say, crypto, that world I never felt I am going to go out of business myself, Harper. My identity is not threatened by this. I'm not, a bank. I'm not a Federal Reserve, or I'm not a reserve currency, all these things. My identity was not fundamentally threatened by making money more efficient, faster, etc. However, the AI world, especially when it comes to code gen, which is kind of where I'm spending a lot of time inside of, is very existentially threatening towards my being. I graduated college in the early 2000s. I've programmed since I was a little kid. My first computer was BASIC on an Apple IIc. I've programmed my entire life. Probably around, I have a young child now, and watching them do language acquisition, I'm oh wait, I was a year older when I started programming. My entire life of language acquisition has been matched with coding acquisition. And so it's this kind of bizarre space where I see that and I'm just wait, I don't need any of those skills anymore. And I've been challenged by that. I've also challenged myself to try and create really inclusive environments where I work with people who don't have my skills and see if they can achieve the things that I am proud of myself achieving. Coding something really fast or doing something, learning, being a polyglot programmer or learning a new language really quick. None of this is necessarily germane to our world. It's much more relegated to my friends who are doing woodworking, where it's I have a new planer and it's really exciting. And I'm cool. I'm just going to buy furniture. So I feel that's kind of where it is. Now, it obviously doesn't have to be that. You have your gradient of choice in there, where on the gradient you're picking. We're full in. We're completely in on it. And that has created this very complicated perspective. So what this means is like, as hype cycles go, this one has affected me more emotionally and also with excitement, because I think if I wasn't like, fuck yeah, let's go, I would just be like, what am I going to do with my life? My entire identity is about programming computers fast with a large group of people. And now it's like you take away the large group of people, you make it even faster, and it's not my fingers doing the typing. And then because me and my team are insane, we're like way into personifying and anthropomorphizing the AIs. We're like all the way in. I love it. It's incredible. We're probably not going to fall in love with them, but there's still time. But we're definitely like, this is the future. It's so good.
Can I like press on something you said? Like, I think it's so interesting, especially because you grew up programming and you have a kid. And I'm curious, like, how you would want to do things differently if you were that age today and we're kind of coming up. Like, do you think it's not worth it, for example, to spend a lot of time like actually learning first principles around programming, or is there still value in that?
I wonder if the first principles that we would talk about 10 years ago, or like my generation, the 90s computer science school, if those first principles, because when I went to school, like assembly was still kind of in the throes of dying from an education standpoint. Like we still learned it in school. C was a big thing to learn, but it wasn't really like the kids who came after me, many of them who I've hired, et cetera, don't have that kind of foundation.
Assembly being like kind of the low level machine code of like how your computer is understand.
Yeah, so like I think there's a thing where it's like, what are the foundational things you should learn? I think is shifting as well. And what I mean by this is, if you're just doing JavaScript or React or something like that, you probably don't really need to know the like some foundational stuff. That doesn't mean you're not going to get into problems, but like I don't know. I've hired a lot of people, and none of them really have a handle on like big O notation. Like it's like I feel like that's something. Now there are certain things where that's important, right? Like if you're doing some performance work, that's hugely important, and I've worked with people who do understand it. I am not one of those people that I work with that understands it, has a good handle on it. But I, in my time of working on big teams doing complicated things, very rarely has a lot of those concepts actually appeared, and that's because we'd obfuscated them away. Like I use an ORM that's handling some of this stuff. I use these things that are like hiding this. So someone in the world is thinking about it. It's just not me or 100 people around me that are thinking about it. And so I wonder what the next version of that is. Like, is it so much that, like, here's an example. I've been coaching and hanging out with a bunch of people who are doing a lot of code gen stuff, and many of them know about programming, many of them don't. But like, I was talking to someone recently and they were like, I stopped being prescriptive about what programming language the model is choosing.
Interesting.
As long as I can deploy it to like Fly or Firebase or one of the others that they have chosen. They chose that purely because they have billing accounts there, not because of any great like want. And so they're just like, yeah, I'd love to deploy this to Fly because I have a Fly account already that's from before, and I don't have to pay anything extra, and it has a very nice free version. And so they're like, yeah, it turns out it's in Go. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't know you knew Go. And they're like, I don't know Go. And like, so then it's like, okay, well then the question is like, what choice are you making? And for them, the choice is then visual, and does it work how they want it to work? And does it look how they want it to look? And then insides, they don't really care. This simultaneously excites me and hurts me inside at a very core. I'm more excited because one of the things that I think has been the coolest about tech as we have gone from 2000s, where I was like a Java programmer, to today is like just more people. I love sharing this with people and having more people around doing this. And like, my brother just sent me the theme he made for his blog, which is Dylan.blog, which is now a cookie clicker style game of which, as you interact with the blog, you gain achievements.
Yeah.
And I'm just that.
Like, I'm just like, what? And he started it like yesterday afternoon and sent it to me this morning with like changes. Like he doesn't know how to program cookie clicker style games, but I don't think that's the question anymore, right? It used to be that was the question. Do you know how to do this thing? And I just don't think it's germane because he doesn't need to. He was able to do it just fine. And certainly, I'm sure someone could have done it better over like a 3-year period of desperately writing each line of code themselves and being careful and all this stuff. But I don't think he's really worried about it being correct. He's worried about it. Does it make him feel good? Is it right for him at this moment? And like if he was entering like a minified JavaScript competition to see if he can write, like, does your code look like a dolphin? Like, I'm sure he would fail, but like, that's not what the world is.
That's why I think it's interesting. And Sarah, I'm curious how you think about this too, but it feels like that example, that's a great example of like,
Cat.
Yeah. I know, I tried to get my cat to come in here too. Dang. Hi. There are certain products, let's say, where what you just described is perfect. Like, you're building for yourself. You're building for, it's not something that needs to be scalable necessarily. It's not something that needs to be like consumer grade. You're not going to be charging for it. Like, you're not trying to build a business around it. And certainly CodeGen has democratized the ability for people to come up with an idea and make stuff like that, which is like, as someone who their whole life wanted to be able to do that and struggled, it is like an amazing thing. But
I hear a butt coming.
Well,
yeah,
and this is why where I'm curious, because you said like, oh, there's a level of concern about like your identity as a programmer or a software developer being replaced. To me, at least right now, and I don't know how far away we are from this, it doesn't feel like I, armed with Cursor or Claude Code or Replit or whatever, could like get a job as a software developer at a great tech company and be at the same level, and know what to do and be shipping great code, or even start a company with 3 other people where none of us are trained programmers or engineers, and build something that is consumer grade that we could like actually build a business around. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that I think, and Harper, I'd be interested to hear your take on this. I think the thing I've been talking to people about recently, I've been talking to a bunch of people that are, building browsers and browser tools, and they're thinking about like, okay, for example, I heard a metric that was like in the month of in this past quarter, 13 million websites were created, which is like more than they've ever seen. And it's like, and I'm sure some of those are just like, oh, I'm testing, blah, 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 like whatever this is. And some of them are your brother's awesome cookie clicker blog, which is really functional and neat. And I think you can, like, I think people are thinking about what kind of tooling to make with for people with this background, right? Of like people that aren't, like, haven't been coding their whole lives and start coding. Like, what do you need to build to make that easier for them and make it not blow up in their face? So I think we're not quite there yet. I do think that, like, you talk to the big tech companies, you talk to the smaller tech companies, they're really comfortable hiring new engineers that just have Cursor experience, or only know how to build a website on Cursor, or only know how to do certain things. I think as code gets easier to throw away, actually, that even gets that's more present in the space. So I think I do think that software engineering is going to look very different. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Harper?
I'm basically an extremist at this point. I think it's over.
You think it's over?
I think we're done. Yeah, we're calling it. Here's why. So we had an intern program. I was testing a thing. My assumption was, with like Claude Code and a good coach, anyone can be just as good as I am. And like so we had this, and I read this random tweet. I wish I could find it because I think it's very correct. This random tweet. I refuse it to call it X, but it's this random tweet. You have to die on some hills. I have very few hills that I'm willing to die on, and I just picked that one for some reason. I sometimes regret it because I feel like a child, but whatever. I read this tweet, and it was essentially, this guy said the team of the future is coaches, where you have someone on the team that knows all the stuff, and they're coaching people who don't know all the stuff yet. And I like this because there's two reasons I like it. One, my partner works at Deloitte, and they do a really strong coaching world, and I'm always admiring how much support that they have, both as someone who's coaching someone and it just really helps people belong, know all the knowledge, get ahead in their career. And one of the things I think is missing from tech is like the ability to get good mentorship, like built in as infrastructure. I just think that's something that I have not seen in a lot of my career. And yet the people around me, we've been lucky because our crew, we've worked together for a long time. So we've been able to mentor and coach ourselves. But when I worked at, bigger companies, that just wasn't the case. It was like only a special program for leadership potential. And it's like, no, what if it was just for everyone? So I really like that. The second thing was this idea of just having a coach is like where it's not where are the bodies buried, because I think that's such a bad phrase. It's also like, how do you interact? How should I feel? There's like this like very like soft aspect, and then there's the very hard aspect of like, what editor should I be using? What is the tool I should use? And it's like the key is that those people know all these things. Just real quick, if you hear any weird noises, we have a lot of things happening. Like there is a little Unitree robot dog over here that is making noises. It's so
amazing.
Ridiculous. It just made it like everyone just walked off. I don't know why, and it made a noise, and I'm just like, this is concerning.
That's perfect context and ambient noise.
Yeah, and there's also an agent for the office that manages things. So if it runs by or somehow I die in this, but the intern program was very simple. Like basically what it was is I was like, can we find some interns that are smart people, computer sciencey people, but not at all like senior engineers, just like normal kind of computer science people. And then if we paired them with a coach, me or like my friend Clint or Dylan or one of the people on our team who just has years of experience, and we give them Claude Code. And we're looking for probably people who have somewhat high agency. And then there's this other aspect that we've been trying to figure out how to describe, which is someone that knows when they're underwater, which I think is a very specific skill set, which can raise their hand and say, I'm stuck. And so, and I don't think coachable in that bullshit phrase matters, because you're not looking to teach people. You're just saying, look, just go. So we put these people and we gave them independent projects that were like at the same level as the projects we were doing, and they all were successful. Like they were fine. They were good. They were production level. One of them, like, wow. I mean, truly, like they were absolutely the same as quality I would expect for all of us. There was no difference. This were not intern quality projects. These were just normal ass projects that came out of this. And this was summertime. So now we are past the summer.
In AI years, that was like 2 years ago.
It was like 4 years ago in AI years. And so one of the people on my team, this woman named Sophie, she's great. She's started kind of helping us with some ops, some like product ops stuff. And there was a project that they were experimenting with, and it was this translation script I had made, which is like a small multi-agent translator that would take and do double checks and critique and double check and critique to actually do some pretty good translation for content. And so we were doing some multilingual content, and they were like, I want to write a blog post about this, but I want to know like, what could we make it a product? And I was just like, why don't you just make it a product? And so 48 hours later, it's a product that you can use. It's on Netlify with a backend on Fly. We did not give her any of those instructions. It has a Stripe account hooked into it. This is not a programmer. And this is so like, and it's not bad. Like, it's like, wow. If we were to release it, we would do literally nothing. Mm-hmm. We would just be like, oh, there it is. Here's the domain. Wow. But the thing that I learned from that, there's a couple things I learned from that. One, I don't think there ever has been this is, production code versus non-production code. I think that's typically a delineator that is made by people like me to keep people that are trying to get into the industry out of the industry, of just be like, well, that's just not production. And it's like bullshit. Like we've worked at big companies, like it's all bullshit fucking like bubblegum and baling wire code. Like it's like my favorite part about fintech, which is where I spend a lot of time, is there's like a CSV file that glues it all together somewhere in the stack. There's just no way there's not a CSV file somewhere in there. Doesn't matter what company you're at, there's a CSV file inside of it. You might have wrapped it with a Rust API, still a CSV file. So like I feel like that is like how reality is. And so we create all these like barriers, like, oh well, this is not production grade, or you need to be so senior to get this done. But then for some reason all these great companies come from people who are like 24. I'm confused how this happens, how you can build like a life-changing company when you're 24, but you have to be a senior engineer with 35 years of experience to be a hire. Like, so I feel like we lie to ourselves to try and create more more insular experiences to try and keep people out, more so than we create opportunities for people to come in. And so I think the thing that's really fucked up about AI, besides being existential for people like me, is that doesn't care. It literally doesn't care. Like your success is related to the amount of patience and interest you have in getting this done.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter at all if you know anything. I mean, so I challenged myself. The second challenge I did was I was like, I'm going to do everything in Rust, which I think that was because I had 7 million years to waste compiling. But like, holy moly, it takes so long. I'm like, got to rebuild that Docker. Oh, geez. Well, I might as well go for a run. But so I did everything in Rust. I don't know anything about Rust. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. And then now I do everything in Go. Same. Like I've never done Go in my life. Like it's great. I do fucking Swift all the time. I don't know Swift. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't even do Python. I was really good at Python. I really liked doing things in Python. I don't even do it anymore because it was too easy. And then the easy thing is I don't even do any work. So this is the existential part. Is like it really is challenging because I see myself basically just chatting like I did on IRC in like 2003 and 2004 and etc. while I was a Java programmer, being like, what are you going to do tonight? Like that's basically all we chatted about while the programs were doing things and you were typing into some editor. Now I'm in like a terminal chatting with someone who calls me Dr. Biz, and that's it. Like that's all I do. And I do, it's ridiculous. We're so productive. We are doing so much code. If we were counting lines of code, we would be beating our yearlies in like just half a year of 2025. It's bonkers. And I think we're all going to die. Well, inevitably we'll all die, but I think this is not going to help us.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I feel like to your point, the quantity of code is just wild. What you're talking about with like the gatekeeping, I've been really thinking about this. Last week, I was having a conversation with someone that clearly had been a engineer for a long time, and I feel like what you said is like you're like latest and greatest. Let's do it. And I'm sure you've seen the spectrum of like there's that side of the spectrum, and then there's the other side of the people that are like there's engineers out there that are like I won't use AI, I don't trust AI, and they're always like that. Those
people are boned.
Yeah.
They're so boned. They probably also didn't use like I don't know like anything at some point.
Ruby
like,
on Rails.
I think there's a thing which is like I didn't use Ruby on Rails. Man, I've been documented since 2007 talking shit about Ruby on Rails, but that's just because I like good things, not bad things. But I'm trying to think like what this is because I think you're right. There's always people who are like, I'm not going to use this, and I think AI, especially code gen, and I kind of refuse to say vibe coding, but I think there's some benefit to calling it that as well.
Yeah.
But like the code gen stuff, I think in my experience, the people who are really against it feel it's a threat to them.
Yeah.
And that's because not that they're good or bad, but because they see their job ultimately as replaceable. And I think that's really the issue is that like when I look at if the three of us started a company, convinced Becca to fund us, that'd be fun. Fund us. If we started a company and we went out there to hire people, we're not hiring mid-level developers. There's no jobs anymore for that person because it's expensive. They're expensive. They require more money, and they just don't have as much benefit as a young developer. And so you have this fucked up thing when you start litigating the view through capitalism. Then you stop hiring mid and senior people, and you only hire like cheap younger developers. They don't have to be young. It's not about age. It's more about like how much they're demanding, and someone with less experience.
Or it pushes you to like both ends of the spectrum too, where
100%.
Or you spend the vast majority of your capital trying to acquire like top talent, like finding the people.
I just don't. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a horrible mistake because I think the problem is that if you are just laying out how much productivity you're going to get one of those people, then get 10 juniors, give them Claude Code, and have that one person be an asshole. What are they going to do? They're going to sit there and be miserable. They're going to be miserable wherever they are. I would rather work with 10 people who have no idea what they're doing with Claude Code, just trying to figure it out, than 2 people who are like 10x developers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
we just got a delivery of something, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it is our company hoodies, which you're gonna love because I'm gonna get one.
See.
No, you have no idea. You're gonna.
You guys do have a great logo.
Oh no, we didn't even use the logo.
Aesthetic going on.
I designed these just from my brain one morning, where I was like, can I get one? I want to show.
Yeah, I want to see.
I'm so excited because I don't know how they turned out because like I'm
Oh my
not.
God,
I'm
we're
kind
gonna
of-
find it. You're revealing it in real time.
Yeah. Okay. Ready? Here. Let me
Yes.
see. This is the shirt. Okay. This is the shirt.
Exclusive.
So-
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's so good.
That's amazing. AI will kill us all. Could not have come at a better
This is
moment.
the company brand right now.
That
We're
is
so screwed. I
so
really think we're in trouble. Like
good.
I'm like, and my question every time I talk about this, people are like, "Why are you doing an AI company?" And I'm kind of like, I
do you
don't
not?
know, but also I think the things that are going to kill us are actually not AI. I think the things that are going to kill us are these things that are going to come about because we don't have social infrastructure in this country. That's what's going to kill us.
Yeah.
And the AI is just going to make it so I guess that those of us who can will have a little more fun before we die.
I'm obsessed with that shirt.
Yeah, we can send them to you.
On that note, do you want to talk a little bit about what you're building and kind of like what the
My journey's even better.
yeah
I
I'm
love
gonna
the font.
need
It feels like movers. Like yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
Do you
I
know what it
literally said,
reminded
like
me
a
of?
plumber.
Do you know
I
what
said
it
those
reminded
words.
me of? It reminded me of, do you guys remember when during the campaign when they were speaking, someone in Trump's campaign, maybe it was Trump, was speaking in front of the Four Seasons.
Yeah, yeah,
Four
yeah.
Seasons total
Yeah, this is-
like landscaping, and it was like that's what it.
This
that
is
was the
100%. I'm so excited about this.
It's
like
perfect.
It's just I wanted it to be like they were like, what font? And I was just like, I don't know. Think like a plumber. And then they, like design is important to us.
vibe. Incredible.
That's
love it.
great.
So you're going to ask about 2389?
Yeah. Talk
Yeah, what's
to
the
us a
name
little
Yeah.
bit.
too? I'm interested.
Well, it's such an interesting. It's so interesting because there's a couple things I've been thinking about. And so first of all, obviously 2389 is an early stage company. We started with this very specific idea about how to like kind of change workflow. And when we started thinking about this, one of the things that we noticed was most of the tools that we saw were not, you couldn't add others into them. Like a lot of the AI kind of experiences have been singular. A person interacts with a thing, and you see people doing experiments like the OpenAI group chats, things like that, which are just okay. Like it's not super accessible. It's not very interesting. But we kind of thought of this very simple and kind of fun idea of just like what happens if you had like a workflow tool that allows you to get work done, but you can add friends and coworkers, etc., both as kind of agents themselves, so they can get things done into the system, and then give them the same tooling that the agents have. Because that's the other thing about some of this stuff is like these agents have really good tools. People are like, I gave my agents all these tools, and I'm kind of like, I also want some of those tools.
Yeah.
Even because like for us, it's just you just have to like do a browser, and it's like I'm like, okay, great. Like, but I would love to be able to just look at like run a function and get all of this information for myself to do this stuff. And so then it's kind of like, what is like an example would be like a knowledge graph. Like there's so much benefit of doing knowledge graphs in some side of those some of these systems, whether it's like GraphRag from Microsoft or some of those other ideas. There's a lot of benefit you get from some of that stuff, just from being able to say like, yeah, this is the knowledge like that I have. Like I want to look up everything I know about Sarah Chips. Like we've known each other for, sporadically for quite a while now. And there's all these like little things that you would see, these little topics that would surface up there that might actually help various things happen. And so we spent a lot of time talking with Nathan Stoll, who is one of the founders of Aardvark, kind of building around this stuff. Like how do you make human-powered knowledge graphs? And then how do you start mixing in agents? And so that was kind of some of the start there. Basically what's happened is we've just been totally fucked by the fact that you can program anything you want in like 48 hours, and that like removes all conviction from any idea ever. And so we've just been like, we just kind of jumped in a pot and stirred ourselves to death. And so now we're just laying on the ground being like, what do we build? What do we build?
To
We're
be
dying.
fair, isn't that kind of like what it's always like when you're starting
It's
to build something
100%.
from
I
scratch?
mean, you started a company, Becca. You know how this is. Like there's never. I think the difference is that in the olden days, you would say, "Here is my idea. I'm going to build it for the next 18 months."
Right.
And so you have 18 months to figure out the story, the sales cycle. You're talking to customers. You're spending all this time, and then you're like, done. I'm done. But then at that 18 months, during that time period, you spend all this time with people. And so you're iterating and you're doing this stuff because it just takes a long time to build. Now you take that same amount of time to build and you've shrunk it down to 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's with a week padding. And now you're just like, you talk to like 5 people and they're like, that's a shitty idea. And you're just like, well, okay. Then 2 weeks go by and you're like, well, I guess I'll do it again. And so you just keep doing this again. So we've done a lot. This is to say, like I was just talking to Matt the other day and like we were just telling him, like we've done so much. What we've found is a handful of things. The first thing is that we have, and I know there's a handful of people that are doing stuff like that. We have basically a code gen loop that is very effective. And at this point, we can drop kind of any spec in and within a very small amount of time, getting any level of tech out of it very effectively.
That's interesting.
I was
a lot of people are
joking.
trying to do that. I haven't heard anyone doing that effectively yet.
It's very effective. It's scary effective. There's a couple things that are really important there. We have embraced what we're calling. I stole this from someone else, so it's not like my invention here. But they're calling like scenario testing. So it's a little bit like integration testing, but it's not necessarily for some like smoke test or some like integration test. It's just you're trying to get the agents to use the product like a human would. So for instance, you give them a browser and you have them go through like a user test or a user experience test on what they would do and like do various things like that. And it's incredible because if you set up this loop of that, then you can just be like, does it work? And they'll be like, yes. And then it gets closer and closer to working. And this is something I say to Dylan all the time. Dylan's my co-founder. It drives him crazy. I say, I don't think there's anything we can't build in a week. And this is where it gets more existential again. And so this becomes this thing of like, am I wrong? And so I'll test myself. I'll say like,
Why
well, I
does
can't
it drive
possibly.
him crazy? Does he disagree?
I think it's both that he doesn't disagree, but it's an insane thing to say, right? Because there's like always counterexamples. Like so, I was talking to a friend of mine, this PM that was a former PM that we worked with a lot, Ashley Phillips. I was like, yeah, you can build anything. Come over and we'll just pair together and we'll just build whatever you want, whatever your wildest dreams are. We'll just build it. And she comes in and she's like, I want to build a bot that scalps tickets off of Ticketmaster. And I'm just like, you picked the hardest thing. Like, that's even hard. Like, why would you pick that? Like, anything else? She's like, nope, let's do it. And then, so it's like, obviously there are counterexamples where it's going to be very difficult to achieve that. But like, we got to a working prototype that was using the Ticketmaster API in 45 minutes. So like,
I mean,
but like the point is like with a good spec, someone said this is a lot like math, where if you spent all the work to prove it, you've written down all this spec, all the pros, all this stuff, then you have this like kind of proof that it will work, then you can just get the AI to implement it very quickly. And with like really robust scenario testing, really robust loops here, to just do it over and over again and just like hone it, then you're pretty much done.
okay, I'm smiling because, and please, I want you guys to like blow this argument up if you can. And for sure I am biased in this because I come from a product background as a product manager. It feels to me like the skills you need to be a really good product builder are the skills that are becoming increasingly important, because even doing what you just said well and like is not easy per se. Not even to mention like figuring out what to build. That already is the hardest thing. If you can build whatever you want, but like figuring out, like you were just saying, like what you want to build, what problem you want to solve, how you want to solve it, what you want to build, what works, talking to all those people, talking to users, customers. That stuff is not necessarily made easier in terms of figuring out the right solution with AI. But it feels like the sort of product core skill set is becoming increasingly more important. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. I think
Basically what I'm saying is I'm super important.
very important.
Well-
I feel like, I don't know, Harper, I don't know if you feel the same. I feel like I'm turning into a product manager because like that's what I do. I say like, okay, here's what that's how I start building everything. It's like here's like exactly what I want it to look like in the end, and then I say, okay, let's break this down into testable steps. So like, give me like testable steps, and we're going to build them. And at the end of each step, we're going to test, and then we're going to build the next step. And that's been like the most productive way for me to build. And I feel like that's very much like a product manager Like I feel like I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Do you
even.
agree?
I think it's
Yeah.
funnier. There's two things I think about a lot. I've been speaking at Northwestern Business School a couple times, and I'm always like, now is the time for the idea guy. You know what I'm talking about? Like they finally
Yeah.
found their time. all these Patagonia vested bros who are like, hey, I'm looking for a
Oh
technical
no,
co-founder.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, they finally got it, and I'm so excited
so
for them.
funny.
Because the thing is even though it's easy, and this is where the struggle is, like what 2389 has been doing. We've been doing so many experiments. We've released a lot of software. We've done all of this stuff, but still, it's hard because just because you can build the software faster doesn't mean that it makes it easier to grow a company, to build a product, to do all this stuff. And I think this is a good reminder to all of us who are entrepreneurs, that especially tech people who are tech biased, that product is not and is rarely technical solution. Right. It's much more about like, is it something that your customer wants? Is it something that your customer needs? But maybe not needs. I think customers are often wrong. I think they don't know what they need. But I do think there is a thing of like growth is still hard. And there's some people who have done a good job of showing how they have used, vibe marketing or whatever horrible words we want to use to describe it.
I hate it so much.
It's so good. But like all this stuff is like, I think I have not yet seen easily adopted workflows to help use LLMs to do better growth without me screwing it up in some way. And whereas on the code side, I have friends who are shipping iOS apps who should not be shipping iOS apps if you looked at their abilities, their core abilities as judged 5 years ago. And they're doing fine. Now, they're still stumbling in the, like, how do I get people to use it? And that's not because it was vibe coded. That's because that shit's hard.
Right.
It doesn't
100%.
matter who made it or how it was made. It could be honed from metal, and it still is very difficult to get people to use. And so we've been building a lot of stuff. We've just been pushing it out to friends and using it ourselves and trying to see what sticks. And the things that have been sticking are somewhat, how do you put agents into interfaces that are with you all the time? So like, how do I code from my phone? Like, I think that there's like changing the context.
People will get mad if you figure that out.
Well, I think the thing, I really think you just have to give up on the fact that engineers were a thing once.
Yeah.
I think that like the fundamental premise here is that engineers are insufferable.
Yeah.
And they're bad people, and they probably are annoying. And I include myself in this because I've had to work with myself for years now. And but I do think there's a real thing of like, so we built this simple product that put Claude Code inside of a Matrix chat, and it is barely working. Like, it's an early product, and so
Can you
we gave
explain
it
what
to
you mean by matrix chat?
Matrix is this open source kind of do-it-all chat thing. It's kind of like a logical conclusion from XMPP. None of this makes any sense. It's basically just a chat app that is super encrypted that allows for rooms and some video chat and some other stuff in there. The reason why Matrix, I've been using Matrix for bots for a really long time because it's really easy to build bots in.
Interesting.
Like WhatsApp is a pain in the ass to build a bot in. Telegram seems like a liability to use.
Is that because Matrix is open source?
I think it's open source. They just don't care. Like, it's not like, and they're pretty, it's pretty easy to use. It doesn't have a huge number of users, so it's probably not being abused.
Wait, that's a hot
It's
tip. I want to play around.
Matrix
with
is great. The clients are all pretty good. They're pretty rich. Like, it's pretty nice. We built this thing that just has like Claude Code. Like, each channel you make is a Claude Code instance with a bot. You can chat with the bot, and you can do whatever Claude Code can do. And this was just an experiment. And I had done some other stuff with Matrix in the past of hooking it into like LLM APIs just for like on the road ChatGPT before the mobile apps were released. And I gave it to a friend, and that friend immediately started building websites. Like, I just like, hey, you can just chat with this thing, and it would like check your email or whatever. And he just started ripping up websites. He built like 7 websites. And I was just like, where are you going to host them? He's like, I don't know.
He's like, hosting?
What?
Like, I don't know how he did it. Like, this is running on a physical machine in my office, like just over my corner there, over my shoulder there.
Fascinating.
And he's just building websites. And it's like a Docker instance that he has. And he somehow got the files. I had him send him the files. And like, he just like building websites. And so I was just like, he's not a technical person. He doesn't care. He's not like worried. I think we're the us technical people, only ones worried about whether it's good or bad. And it's like one of those things where like, I remember when HTML first got big, I was in high school, and like I built a website. I'm sure there was someone probably at, Urbana-Champaign school, who was like dying inside because me, a like 14-year-old kid, built some website to find wares or whatever my website was. And it's like that kind of thing is like, it always happens. It's a story as old as time, I suppose, of just like us people with experience being like, you can't possibly do that. And the person without experience is being like, I did it.
You're right. You're right that I think there is probably like an emotional component to it too, or like an ego threatening component to it too.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm honest, is partially why I also do not like the term vibe coding, because I feel like I'm not just like vibing, guys. I'm like, actually, I know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm like telling it what to do.
But even then, isn't it though a vibe? Like,
Yes.
aren't you seriously
100%.
running it because you are like, this feels right or feels wrong? Because you no longer have to have this like pseudo-intellectual idea that you executed on something accurately. That's just gone. Like, you don't have to do that. So now it really is like, does this feel right? Like, there's this, one of my favorite movies, because I'm about 700 years old, is a movie called UHF by Weird Al Yankovic from the 80s, and it's a wonderful movie. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
I have no idea if it's super problematic or not. I don't care, but it's
We'll
it's good.
watch
But
and get back to you on that.
yeah, please do. But one of the scenes in it is like two guys sitting next to each other. One of them is blind, and the other one is sitting next to him. And the blind guy is doing a Rubik's cube and just asking the other guy, "Did I get it?" And the guy's like, "Not yet." And he changes it and he does, "Did I get it?" And like, as a kid, I always thought about that. But that feels a lot like what we're doing right now when we're building products, where we're just like, Claude, like, take another pass, and the Claude's like, beep boop 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 beep, and then you're like, did it get it? And you're like, well, it's not quite it. Take another pass, and it's like boop boop beep boop beep, and it's like, that is like the iteration process. Instead of us being so involved, like, we are the judge, we are no longer the doer. And I think that is a very interesting kind of place of like, when you are the one who's expected to be the arbiter of taste, not necessarily the arbiter of technical like competence, like it requires a different skill set. It requires a different like, and this is also, I think, why you have so many people who are like solopreneurs right now, is because you can get so far without, but also it's very hard to share taste.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing I've heard, and I probably said this already before, but someone said to me, what we're seeing on the internet right now is very similar to what like YouTube did to video. It's like what we're seeing happen in coding on the web. And like with video, like you used to have to be a videographer. You used to have to have all the good equipment. You used to have to like have a technical understanding how to edit video and then sit for like hours and edit video.
So long.
That was the like you're talking about is like the skills that you needed. And then now anyone can build video, and it really is.
Look at us. We're on a video podcast right now.
Yeah.
I have no business being here.
Exactly. And then taste becomes more important. I think that'll be really interesting to see where taste goes. Like, or like when the people that figure out like this is what people need and want, I think it's going to change a bunch.
And it changes too,
fascinating time.
because there's this interesting thing that I love. I love this. I love the accessibility. I love the speed, because the other thing that is true is you can test things very, very quickly. So my office is in the middle of a manufacturing incubator, like kind of like an old school incubator. All around us are e-commerce companies that are just going ham right now because it's the holidays, and like they're just pumping out goods. And some of them are manufactured here, some of them are drop ship type things. I just talked to a friend of mine who runs a electric scooter lock company. It's like the Viper alarms of electric scooters. Like, it's like stuff like that, but it's manufactured in this building. And like, talking to them, we've been doing a lot of work with them to try and figure out like, what are some of the things they need, both because we have a lot of e-commerce experience. And what's exciting is they can say, oh, well, I need this thing. And then we can build it in a couple days and say, was this it? And they're going to say no. And then you go back, okay, what about now? And it's like, yes.
Yes.
And like, that is something that's very real right now. And as kind of the like company that has 1 million internal products and has tested a couple of them out externally, like trying to figure that out, like trying to get that, like it's really about your distance from the customer, I think, right now with testing some of this stuff. Like, can you walk over to them and talk to them? And this is a complicated thing, because one of the reasons I think I chose programming is because I get to sit inside in the dark. And now you're
like,
telling me I got to go
to talk to anyone.
Yeah. I mean, I love talking to people, but it is definitely, I'm just like, oh gosh, this is not like the other ones. The other ones I got to sit here and not talk to anyone, and now you mean I have to go outside? So that's very funny.
And he's always say there's a generation of programmers who became programmers because they had no friends when they were little. I always say that was me.
Yeah,
That was
yeah, for sure. I mean, I spent a lot of time inside. That was fun. But it's more interesting now because I think the people I have seen, in my experience, the people who I've seen who've been very successful at taking up programming at this world are people who are really good at communicating. And being able to good at and so I have this theory, I wonder if people who are good at like rapping or poetry or things where it's about efficiency of words, if they would be good with
That's fascinating.
with like prompting. I just don't know. I'm not cool enough to hang out with rappers. I would love to be. That's a dream.
If you're if you're a program, like I imagine there's programmers listening that are like, okay, but then what do I do? What are you telling your friends?
I think you're fucked. I don't think there's a what do I do. I don't think so. I think that acting like there is an option within the space of programming and technology is just a trick to make it so it's more painful.
Is the answer like the answer doesn't lie in your programming abilities? The answer is going to lie in all the stuff you were just talking about is still hard.
Yeah. The answer lies in, are you able, like I think that the thing that we have been afforded, the people of our generation, we have been afforded a very lucky time when you can start a job and continue to do that job over time without change. And I don't think that has been for a lot of other generations. And so there hasn't been an upheaval in how you program computers. Like when I started programming computers in, probably like professionally getting paid for it in the late 90s, you had an IDE, you in a text editor, and then you compiled somehow. And that's basically been the same until, let's say, 2021. 2022. And so that was basically it. Now you use better tools, new cool stuff came out, Ruby on Rails came out, which I could ignore, and all these other things came out that were like, that were there that really made life better for programmers. Like Ruby on Rails really did make life better for programmers, just not me. But the thing is like, now it's different, right? I don't use an IDE. I don't have an editor. Like I don't look at the code.
Yeah.
That's really complicated. And I think that we need to think about, okay, what is my job? Is my job to look at the code? Okay, no. Okay, so what is left? And if you start removing all the things that the code gen is doing, which is like generating and designing code, making some like mid-level architecture decisions, if you take everything that it does and nothing is left, then you really have no future. And so but the thing is we're years ahead of everyone being removed from their jobs, hopefully. And so like there's time to reconcile. There's time to go and be like, oh, and I don't think this is like en masse every programmer should become a PM. But I do think understanding a little bit more what that means. And I think the people who are most endangered are the mid-level career people. Because I think the senior people are already senior. They're either going to retire, they're already old, they're going to quit, or they're just going to keep being very senior with all this knowledge. The young people, the juniors, they're fine. They've always been fine. That's the best place to be in tech, I think. You don't get paid very much, but the sky's the limit on what you're able to do and what career path you choose, etc. But the people who are mid-career, I have a lot of concern for that because when you do layoffs, you don't lay off the cheap people. And you don't lay off the people who know everything. You lay off the people who are expensive but aren't quite there yet.
Yeah,
and that's
totally.
that's my biggest fear, is those folks. And so when I think about that, I think I would be thinking a lot about how do I be very helpful to my organization while they're going through this change, because it's not just an individual change either, right? It's an organizational level change as well. And so that could be like finding places where it's just very hard. It could be a compliance place. It could be a regulatory reason why it's very hard to introduce these tools. It could be various things like that. It also could be maybe just becoming very good at these tools. It could be becoming a baker. Or a baker, not a banker. Don't become a banker, but becoming a baker. It could be a lot of things. Like,
do something
I don't know
with your hands.
Do something with your hands. Get a visa to a socialist country. But I'm not sure like what the right answer is, and this is one of the reasons why it's so scary. And so, like, the reason why I really believe that this is not going to work out well for us is not because the AI is going to kill us. I think it's because the humans will kill us. That's the reason, and sure, that's probably like a slightly different PDOOM or whatever people call it than like a lot of the Silicon Valley, kind of AI bros. But like, I think the outcome is the same. And I think the easy way to think about this, and this just to get even more depressing, is if everything is successful and it all works, and we're suddenly all out of jobs, what happens?
Yeah.
Like the U.S. is not very good at withstanding economic shakedowns, right? It's not good. Or we've invested all of our money into AI, and it all collapses because it's fake, where are we? We're in the same place. Like we have it like economic catastrophe. So I guess we all just got to figure out how to get our castles. So start companies, try and get some wealth creation going.
There we go.
And then get a moat, I guess.
I get a moat.
One thing I appreciate, one thing I think there's also one thing I appreciate is like in the world where like these tools are making it easier for people that aren't engineers to become engineers. I think also it like enables people that are engineers to build tools that make them better at the things they're bad at. Like I
good.
I used your blog instructions to build up the email client. Like I am physically incapable of scheduling, especially across time zones. Like those, like I can build you an application. I cannot tell you what time it is in Ohio right now. Like,
no idea. There's no way. There's no way.
But now I have like 5 email drafts. It was great. It took me like 45 minutes to set everything up. And now I have an AI that tells me, but like schedules things for me, writes emails for me. It was great. And it was that experience of like, I didn't have to code anything. I just, did a bunch of commands, set up some MCPs and servers, and it was good to go.
Here's a fun pro tip
hopefully people
about
can
that.
learn how to do that too.
The fun pro tip is
Before
really
we all
funny.
die.
The agents so far have no idea what days are. Meaning, if you're like, what day is Monday? They'll just be like, it's the 23rd. You'd be like, I don't think it's the 23rd. They'll be like, it's the 23rd.
Okay.
And so we've done everything from like actually giving, because there's a Unix command called cal that gives it like a calendar. Like we've done so much to try and say, how do you understand what the day is? It just can't figure it out. And you'll get in arguments with it being like, hey, I want this. I want to meet with Becca on the 4th. And it'll be great, Wednesday or whatever. You'll be like, it's not Wednesday. And they'll be like, are you sure? And it's like this funny thing. It's like how many R's are in strawberry or whatever, where it's just this funny thing where Clint, who's on my team, who's been doing a lot of work with one of our little projects, which is called Jeff, which is like a little like admin PA thing.
Jeff. Great name.
Well, because I asked ChatGPT, what should I name this? And gave it. It was like, there's 3 options: intern, gopher, or Jeff. And I was just, it's just like, it's Jeff. Obviously it's Jeff. What are you talking about? So Jeff, you can download a version now. It's kind of messed up called Jeff at jeff.ceo. But Jeff was like incapable of figuring out the dates. And it was so funny because you're just sitting there being like, and then you're like, why am I arguing with you? Just Thursday, and it's like very funny. But you're right. Like this is the thing is, every time I run into a thing where I do not know, I have 2 options, right? One of the options is to just be like, Claude, you do it. Great. Love it. Second option is like, what happened? And then I bring that into my brain, and then I learn how to do it, and then inevitably I just ask Claude to do it. But now I know. And then I can figure out that thing that I'm bad at. Like I'm bad at scheduling too. Like if I have an email that requires scheduling, I just don't do the email. And it's not because I don't want to. And one of the things I found really interesting about Claude helping with my email is, first of all, I think it's a horrible idea for everyone to do this because then our agents are just going to talk to each other and we're not going to talk to anyone. But what it has allowed me to do in a very real way is triage my email in such a way where I can reply to the real people who I really want to talk to who are asking questions. And that's people who are randomly emailing me about my blog posts, it's friends, etc. Because there's so much emails that's like, I want to buy this domain, to like, can you meet with this random sales guy who's in town? All this crap that and some of it's real, some of it's from people who I just don't necessarily feel compelled to like care about. Others are just like, I can't help right now. And I still want to give them a polite response. I just don't want to write it.
Yeah. Or you don't want to prioritize it first above something else that is more urgent. And
right. And like, and that's something I think is really important is and this goes back to what we originally chartered to build here. And this is what I think is really interesting. As we hone in our process and get the code gen process to be this great loop where we can drop any kind of thing in and get some really magic out, we're finding ourselves just almost like some singularity getting closer and closer to what we originally pitched. In this kind of fun way where we're like, okay, now we have this matrix chat where anyone can like, they can't sign up now, but you can use it. Like our friends who are using this can iterate in this, make a channel. And then theoretically, which is one of the things we have to test soon, is you can add another person to that channel and then they get access to the same kind of all that information. And then how do you, have memory there and all this, there's all this other stuff, but it's exactly that, Sarah, where it's like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know what the fuck, like how to build this stuff. And it's just like, oh, great. I didn't need to know how. More importantly, it took advantage of what I did know how to make that thing way better.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty chill until everything falls apart.
Well, I I think the best case is just move to a really big city. That's my goal. Just be in a really big city because, we help each other, and it's either really scary or less scary. Nobody knows.
That's really nice.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's nice while it's not scary.
Yeah.
Fair.
Well, great. Well, where can people find out more about what you're building?
You can go to 2389.ai. That's our website, and that's our favorite digits of pi.
Okay, great.
Or our favorite prime, or it's actually just our birthday months ascending is actually what it is, because no one would
Nice.
no one like reply to my email on what should we call this company, and everyone was just like nothing, and I was like, fine, I'm just gonna call that, which is what you get when you work with people for a billion years, and but 2389.ai. And then, one of the things that we are playing around with is, so first of all, just a couple shout outs. Jesse Vincent's Superpowers is incredible. If you haven't used it with Chrome, it's really, really good. With Claude Code. It's really, really good. He has a Chrome plugin that's really, really nice. And his Superpowers is very, very good. You can get very, very far. And I recommend that to everyone. And what it does is it allows you to avoid the speed run to learn CodeGen, which I think is not worth learning anymore.
Jesse
For us-
Vincent made the keyboard. Jesse
Yeah,
Vincent?
yeah.
Cool.
You guys should have him on because he's thinking about
Oh,
such
yeah, I'll
cool
reach out.
stuff. Yeah, he's great, and he has such an interesting perspective because he went from software in the early 2000s to keyboards to now he's doing this new AI stuff, and he is a savant at prompting. I thought I was pretty good at prompting.
Ooh.
He is incredible, and it's prompting, not prompting like it used to be, where it's like, oh, if you tell them you're a kitten, they respond different or whatever. It's like he just is so good at it, and it's very good. And him and I agree in a lot of things of like, just be nice to it and you get things done. Like, it's much more fun. But he does this thing called Superpowers that's really, really helpful, and it's been really, really good. The other thing that I highly recommend is if you build MCP servers, but my advice is to build them as CLIs for humans, and then at the end of it, just be like, also make it an MCP server.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing that goes a little bit against this, but I think one of the things that I've noticed is as we build software utilities internally for us to use and primarily our agents to use, we're ending up building the software for the agents. And that's a different frame. That's a different program. That's a different style of work.
Yeah.
And so a CLI tool is closer to that than a GUI tool, a web tool. And so as you build a CLI tool, it's easier to say this argument is a function that would exist within the MCP framework. But it's quicker for you to test because we don't have MCP clients as people. And most of the demo ones are really bad. And so this is a really quick way that I've done for prototyping some stuff, which has been really interesting.
Cool.
It's very cool. It's a cool time. I'm very happy to be here, both in the podcast and working on this stuff. But boy, is it weird.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's certainly a ride.
This has been so awesome having you on. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me
so much.
Yeah.
I would love to be back if I can. We can check up with
Are you
how our
kidding? We
death
need
is
teas.
happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
We wear different T-shirts on the show, so.
Oh, good. Yeah, I can send you some T-shirts, maybe
That'd be
purple or
amazing.
black. And then I think this is such a dynamic time. I think, it's been very complicated, but I'm so excited to see what everyone's building. So it's been fun to listen and hear.
Cool.
Totally. Awesome.
Yeah, we'd
Well,
love to have you on later to hear how it's going.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna go interesting. Yeah.
We'll all be bakers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful holiday.
Happy
Yeah.
New
You
Year.
too. Have fun.
We shall.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Bye.